Welcome to the GP Preview Show.
Round 11, Hungary, Budapest.
It's almost time for summer where the drivers can kick back and relax and reflect on the first part of the Formula 1 season, but there's one thing that they've got to get out of the way with first, and that is the Hungarian Grand Prix. And I don't know if you think it's just a saw in the middle of summer or you look forward to this race, but it comes round after the British Grand Prix at the Hungaroring, a very excited, very short, a bit like Austria in terms of a very fast circuit with high speed corners and a very excitable race. Obviously, the driver who will be looking forward to heading into this race is Lewis Hamilton. Is he going to make it 6 wins at the Hungaroring, and most importantly, take the lead of the World Championship after an amazing race at Silverstone at the British Grand Prix? He was clawing the lead back from Sebastian Vettel, the guy who had led since Australia, led the whole 2017 Formula 1 calendar up to obviously round 10 in Silverstone. He was battling his way around. Obviously, Sebastian was running, I think it was about 3rd place at that time. It was going to be about a 7-8 point gap until Vettel got the puncher. And then obviously with Hamilton's amazing Grand Slam of the whole weekend, his lead, Sebastian Vettel's lead, is now 1 point. And basically, guys, that is exactly the same as what Nico Rosberg had heading into the Hungarian Grand Prix this time last year. And it's also the same as what Nico Rosberg had, obviously, as he led since Australia, obviously 43 points at Russia, then obviously that all the way came down. So it's almost like deja vu, really. But obviously, is it going to be the same as I say, what happened last year, which is where Lewis Hamilton will take the lead? I mean, he probably is 1 point, but it is very, very close. And obviously, unlike last year, and what we've said and everyone else has said, but we said it first, is obviously it's amazing how it's two teams, one guy from each, from like 2 battling teams are against each other instead of 2 guys in the same team, which obviously makes it very, very interesting. And to kick off the GP Preview Show, the last one for the first part of the season, that's actually quite cool to say, round 11, we are going to be given the predictions for the Hungarian Grand Prix, and obviously we're going to go from 3rd place to 1st place, and in 3rd place, who is rocking up? I'm going to say it's going to be the driver of Kimi Räikkönen. Very, very strong race in Silverstone as well, very strong from the guy who basically a lot of people have been calling out at Ferrari, calling for his retirement, and basically saying that should he be there? Is he just keeping the seat for no reason? Should he be like letting it go? But he did a great race at Silverstone and he's performing well. And out of no real comparison to any other Hungarian Grand Prix, I just have a feeling, I have an inkling that Kimi Räikkönen will do well at this round. A strong 3rd place from him. In 2nd place, I am going to go for Lewis Hamilton. Now, unfortunately, I don't think he's going to get six wins at the Hungaroring. Obviously, he will eventually, obviously, but I don't think he's going to do it this week. And because the guy who I think will come in 1st place is Daniel Ricciardo, 2014 winner. Obviously, his 2nd win in the 2014 and his 2nd win in Formula 1. Obviously, very, very strong. Headed into the back-to-back, obviously, when he won after the other side of the summer break in Belgium in that year, but a very strong race from him in 2014, and I think he'll do it again. The reasons that I think he'll do it again is obviously, as you know, Daniel Ricciardo, his strongest start to the season in Formula 1. It was amazing to see all those straight podiums that he was having all the way from they started in Spain and they ended in Austria. Very, very strong from him. Obviously, it was a great race in Silverstone. Very, very strong. We named him as driver of the day, and obviously as Formula 1 did as well. But obviously, we did it first because we're amazing. Yes. And obviously, amazing drive from him. It's grid penalties coming into play, and obviously I'll get onto that just in a little bit as well, as we mentioned the Hungaroring. And that it was great from him, but he could have been on the podium if he didn't have anything like that and started back in 17th after qualifying. But yes, obviously very, very strong. That he'll head in very strong for the Hungaroring, and I think that he will have his 2nd victory of the season, and obviously breaking up the Hamilton and Vettel. And I'll tell you something as well, as I just said about the championship lead, the 1 point separating obviously Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. That will make it great because it'll be the minor positions. It'll be, well, 2nd minor, but it's not 1st anyway. But it'll be about 2nd place, it'll be about 3rd place, it'll be about 4th place, it'll be about 5th place. That's when it'll all matter. But obviously, because if one of those wins, it'll be like, well, of course he's going to take the World Championship. 1st to 2nd, that's a massive gap of points. I think it's 7 or 8. So obviously, that person's going to run into the distance. But if someone else wins, as I said, so my predictions, if Daniel Ricciardo wins, that'll make it even more sweet. Obviously, the championship battle, which will be great. I said about grid penalties, I'm just going to mention this quickly before I pass over to John to give his predictions. I was going to say is, unfortunately, Austria, Lewis Hamilton got a grid penalty of 5 places, which means that obviously he could have gone for pole, and that could have also well, let's say if he got pole position in Austria and he got pole position, as you know, in Silverstone, he could be on to beat Michael Schumacher's record of podiums in this race. He is pushed back one more, which means that if he does it in this race, he will match it at 68, and then obviously that means he'll get a boost to go for Belgium, and then obviously take Michael Schumacher's record. He's very close. It wasn't really a hindrance, but obviously, as David Croft mentioned it, in Canada, I think everyone really got excited. And I got excited as well, because you were thinking, right, if he does it in Baku, then if he does it in Austria, he can match it at Silverstone, and then obviously one of his favourite races at Hungary, he can then swipe the floor and become the and beat Michael Schumacher's record in all-time pole positions, which obviously is a very special stat for Lewis Hamilton. So, anyway, that is my predictions for the Hungarian Grand Prix, Jordan. Yep. The last race of the first part of the season. And what is your top 3 for the Hungarian Grand Prix?
I must say, predictions are very open, let's say. I mean, I must say very, very... I mean, if that would... I would actually put a bet on that, actually, because you might get some decent money,
Well, hopefully,
and obviously we can go halves.
Well, I don't know. I don't know. You didn't do much work. I said the drivers, you just said yes. Yeah. Honestly, but gonna pull your weight, man.
Exactly. But let's see how wild my predictions are. Well, actually, not really that wild, to be honest with you. But anyways, from third to first, in third place, I've gone with Daniel Ricciardo. Now, Ricciardo obviously missed out on the podium in the last Grand Prix after going on a podium rate of 5 podiums in a row, including a win at Baku. Very, very impressive indeed. The past 3 Hungarian Grand Prix, he's been on the podium, so I'm guessing that he's going to be on the podium this time around. So obviously he knows the track. This is where, as like Lyle said, took his second win, one of his wins back in 2014. So obviously when he won that Grand Prix, it was very, very fresh, very, very It was very new for Formula 1 as well. It was very good to see as well. So I remember that Grand Prix very well, actually, when Ricciardo crossed the line. I was like, Red Bull's back, essentially. Because obviously at the time, Red Bull weren't really as good. Then when he won, I generally thought Red Bull were actually back. And then I was I was kind of right, because then they won in Belgium, but it didn't really go to plan after that. So yeah, Dan Ricciardo P3. I don't think he'll win the race. I think, yes, Lyle might be, alright saying that you win a P1. You might do, should, any of the big guys actually fall out. But I can't see Red Bull winning this race. They might win a race in the next part of the season, should they improve the car, but realistically, I can't really see them actually winning a race. That's also going for Max Verstappen as well, so obviously you can see I haven't put him on the podium. In P2, I've gone with Sebastian Vettel. Now, he hasn't been on the podium in a while now, Sebastian Vettel, obviously coming out, of Great Britain with a puncture, nearly on the podium, and obviously that all went to pear-shaped, didn't it? So obviously not really good there. So and obviously he's lost quite a big advantage from Lewis Hamilton. He had a 20-point lead a couple of races ago, and now that gap has been narrowed down to 1, just because of that puncture that he had. So it is going to be like cat and mouse really, probably throughout the summer, and then as the season progresses, I think it is going to go down to the wire. I honestly can't see Vettel winning this Grand Prix. I think it's going to take a summer break, 3 weeks away, chill out, spend time with your family, get away from Formula 1, come back, refresh, and I think we are going to see a more aggressive, determined side of Sebastian Vettel to actually go on the next leg of the final hurdles to actually go on to win the World Championship. And obviously, race winner, it's got to be Lewis Hamilton, hasn't it? Because 5 race wins here at the Hungarian Grand Prix, very, very impressive. Obviously, I think Schumacher has 4, Lewis Hamilton has 5, going for 6. Lyle said he might not get 6. I think he'll get 6. Very, very strong here. But most importantly, though, if he does match Michael Schumacher's record, that would be very, very impressive. I would say we are witnessing history if that was to happen. Now, Toto Wolff did say this week about Lewis Hamilton leaving a legacy. Now, if he does, obviously, we say that when Willie, he will beat the record. I know fine Willie will, whether it's this season or even next season, it's going to happen. It's inevitable that he's going to beat this record. So we are witnessing a legacy being built here. So I think Lewis Hamilton is going to win the Grand Prix. He's very strong here. As like I said, 5 wins, pole position. I think he'll do a Grand Slam. I'm right in hearing that all of his wins this season have been Grand Slams. So
yes,
I don't see why. I don't see why he should get another one.
There was one statistic from the British Grand Prix. I think he either beat or matched Jim Clark's Grand Slam record. I just remember his name and the Grand Slam being matched. Obviously, very strong in how many he's had as well. Yeah,
because I think Clark has 5, Hamilton has 5 now, and Schumacher has 8. I think he has 8 Grand Slams. Yeah, I know he has the most. Yeah.
But go me, what a great stat. But yes, anyway, Stat attack, yes. But can we just say though, in terms of stats, Jordan, we've said, massive stats, and they're all to do with Lewis Hamilton, and that's, that's because we don't really do that. We've there've always been stats about the place or about many teams. It's about one driver, but obviously.
But for those who might think, no, I might click off now. No, stick around after Fry the Grid because. We've got some stats coming for you guys. We've got some big stat attacks coming for you, so stick around.
Yes, and obviously to lead that in, obviously Jordan has some great questions for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Obviously, what do I know about Budapest and its winners and everything about Formula 1 in Hungary? Yes, obviously this is my round 11, the last round of the first half of the season. I love seeing that. Honestly, it makes you feel great inside. It makes you feel like mission accomplished. Honestly, it's like done.
Well, I don't like hearing it because it's like this, we are halfway through the season. I don't like it.
Do you know what though? Just like prematurely, obviously, and we're not even finished the first half of the season. But I'd have a feeling that these next 3 weeks, or after Hungary, obviously, these next 3 weeks will just fly around, and you'll be talking about Belgium, and then you'll get to a point where you're still talking about Belgium, and you still haven't fully said certain Spa-Francorchamps, and then it's on Sunday. Do you know what I mean? But anyway, that was quickly on that. But yes, anyway, so obviously still at Hungary, heading into the race, and obviously this is my round 11 Fry the Grid. The margins are squeaky tight. 0.5 Jordan leads. Honestly, that's crazy. That is unbelievable. Yes, the Team Jordan is in ahead, but round 11, I closed the first half of the season. So how am I going to do in round 11 Fry the Grid for Hungary? What's going on, guys? This is Lyle, and let's get ready to fry the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Question 1. Who was on the podium in 2016?
Right, okay. So I'm going to say Lewis Hamilton. It's a hard one. Lewis Hamilton. Nico Rosberg. And Daniel Ricciardo.
Oh, got it in one. Well done. 1 point.
Man, of course.
That was good, that. Question 2. What year did the Hungarian Grand Prix make its F1 debut?
Let me think about it. No. Not 2000.
It was actually 1986.
Oh.
Do you want to guess who won the race?
Piquet?
Nelson Piquet.
Yes.
Good guess. Well done. You won, yes.
Well, can I get the point for that?
No. Question 3. Lewis Hamilton is the most successful driver with 5 wins at the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yes.
What year did he win his first?
It's got to be 2008, isn't it?
Was that your answer?
No, it isn't. No, because he was winning 2007, so I'm going to say 2007.
Oh, what are you going for? 08 or 07?
Whichever one's right.
Which one? 08 or 07?
7.
Correct. Well done. Oh my god, don't you... Oh my god, we're taking that out. We're taking that out in the edit. Question 4. What year was the first wet Hungarian Grand Prix held?
Wet?
Yes, now I must say that there's only ever been one since its debut in 1986. There's only ever been one wet Grand Prix.
Well, that makes it easier. That's a good question. 2004.
2006. Now, what happened on that particular Grand Prix?
It was Schumacher and Barrichello, wasn't it?
Nope.
No, I don't know then.
Jenson Button's first win.
Oh, yes.
Started from 14th. And then we obviously won the race, as I just said. Question 5. Who is sponsoring Hungarian Grand Prix in 2017?
Rally, is it?
Yes, it is. Question 6. Which British driver took his first maiden win in F1 at Hungary in 1993?
British.
Which British driver?
The maiden win.
His first win, yeah.
Hungary, yeah. Damon Hill?
Yes, it was.
Oh!
It was indeed.
Lovely.
Question 7. How many laps will the 2017 race have?
70?
Correct.
Wow.
Question 8. In 2014, Daniel Ricciardo took his 1 out of his 3 wins at Hungary that season.
Yeah.
But which one was it? Was it his first win, his second win, or his third win?
His first win was in Canada, and his third one was in Blackpool. So it was his second win was the Hungarian Grand Prix.
Well done. Correct. Question 9. Jenson Button won in 2011, the 2011 Hungarian Grand Prix.
Yeah.
But what special event happened for Jenson on that day? What was so special about that race for him?
You watched Blackpool beat Preston in the championship.
Very controversial.
Jensen won in 2011 with Hungary. I can't. Do you know what? Honestly, I'm blacked out. I can't even remember him winning in that year in that race. So, do you mean like just for Jensen?
Yes, it was a very special moment for Jensen. Very special occasion.
Yeah, I'm thinking it was a something's Grand Prix.
But what?
Well, he hit 300 earlier on in 2016, but I think it was Malaysia 2016, so it probably won't have been his 100th. I'm going to say 200th.
His 200th Grand Prix? That is also correct.
Oh,
well
yes.
done. It was his 200th Grand Prix. Question 10. To the nearest mile, how long is the Hungaroring?
It's the nearest 4 mile.
Yes.
Right. 3.
Yes. Well done. Total is 2.7 miles. You got 8 out of 10.
Very good, very nice.
Very impressive for the Hungarian.
I'd count that as a win. Obviously not what we just saw against Preston, obviously 1-1, but good performance obviously by number 45, Your Defence is Terrified. And yes, very good day. 8 out of 10 is strong, and I feel great heading into the summer break. There's nothing else left to say apart from back to the studio.
You just broke me camera. Oh my god, it's broke. Malfunctioning. So 8 points there for Friday the Grid there. Not very happy about that, to be honest with you. You know, you took a big chunk out of my lead there. So now you're in the lead by 7.5 points. So the current scores are, I'm on 28 points, but Lyle's on 35.5. So you must be very happy about that, obviously. I must say some very good answers there at the Hungarian Grand Prix Friday the Grid. What do you think?
Oh yes, for sure. I was just great. I know everything about it. So, but yes, it was very good. There were some obviously there were some great questions as well. And yeah, I was pretty proud of how I answered them as well, because obviously some of them were like not just normally. They were the very hard ones, you know, like the past and stuff like that. And who was sponsoring the race? That was like such a logistics question, and obviously I got that, nailed.
I think no one's ever got higher than 8 points, I believe. I think we've both got 8 at some point. You got 8 in Bahrain, I got 8 in Russia.
Yeah.
I got 8 in Azerbaijan, now you got 8 for Hungary. So will anyone get 9 or 10? No one's ever done that before. Will anyone get 9 or 10? But I remember you were flying in Baku. I just remember that. I remember you were on point on that. Yes. Don't forget it.
He's actually only on point on one thing. And anyway, yes. So heading into this race, what we're going to do is we're going to obviously be talking about drives and teams like we normally do. But in this time, I'm going to be talking about 2 drivers, 2 big contenders, and then obviously they are Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. I decided to put those 2. Yes, Pascal Wehrlein and Pascal Maldonado. But yes, anyway, so I decided to put those 2 together because obviously, as I say, they are both at each other's throats. Who is going to be at the top of the World Championship after Hungary? It's amazing to think that we are heading into the summer break, as I say, very close. A bit like what me and JT were. Well, we're actually, Jordan. I'm going to say Jordan, not JT. Why am I still doing that? Honestly, we've moved on. We're like half a season after saying this. But anyway, yes. So, obviously, they left, as I say, Silverstone, the British Grand Prix, that close 1 point. What is going to happen? Who is going to separate from Hungary? Obviously, it'll only be one of the drivers. Obviously, that was a very obvious thing to say. That I wish I could retract saying that because that sounds very stupid. It can only be one of those drivers, and obviously, it can be. Now, as I say, obviously, Sebastian Vettel had a good win here in 2015. That was his most recent win at the Hungaroring. Like Red Bull in Daniel Ricciardo, in 2014, he took 3 victories in that Mercedes dominant season. Obviously, the first one came at Malaysia, second one in Hungary. Obviously, a very emotional race as well. Obviously, just recovering from the
in Canada.
No, Seb, man, Sebastian.
Sorry.
Honestly, I know.
Honestly.
Guys, come on, honestly. I don't know, I think Jordan's getting quite tired.
I'm thinking about part 1, my apologies.
I think you want... No, it's no problem at all. I will let you off for once. Anyway, yes, so... but I was going to say, they are very similar, because obviously, as I say, Seb and Daniel both took their second wins that season. With the new teams, anyway. In that. Anyway, yes, obviously, Seb's came in the second time, obviously, a big race, because obviously that was just getting over the news obviously, of Joe Bianchi, obviously tragically passing away after his crash in Japan 14. And then obviously Seb's third and final win in 2015 came in Singapore. So it was a special race for Seb as well, obviously, as I say, in the middle of a Mercedes dominant year, like Daniel Ricciardo did in 2014. But we're not talking about Ricciardo at this time, Jordan. Come on, come on. Honestly, what are we doing here? Racing or
talking about Daniel Ricciardo.
Previewing the Hungarian Grand Prix? Honestly,
I'm such a big Daniel Ricciardo fan. Sorry.
I know, I mean, who isn't?
Exactly.
Anyway, yes, so what is going to happen? As I say, Seb won here in 2015. Lewis Hamilton has 5. It is amazing. As was on Friday the Grid, he took his maiden win at Hungary, if that makes sense, or his second win even, at the Hungarian Grand Prix in 2007 with McLaren. An amazing race as well. He also did it as well in 2012. He won in 2013 as well. His first win with Mercedes, a great win, obviously, as I say, in the track that he absolutely loves, and he's won here before. But he's had some disappointment as well, obviously, as I remember, in 2015, as we mentioned again, he had grid penalties, he moved all the way down the grid, finished in 6th place, which was really bad for Lewis Hamilton, but obviously he won last year, took the lead back from Nico Rosberg, had a dab on the podium, obviously the first time we've ever seen that in Formula 1, and the only time we've seen that in Formula 1, because no other driver's done that, which, honestly, I mean, the dab came back about half a year ago, guys. Honestly, it's like I don't know, I mean, we do it all the time, you know. Let's dab. Ready, John? 3, 2, 1, dab. There we go. I hope that was in time, but there we go. Yes, obviously, Lewis Hamilton, that was dab for the champ. So if you want to go back in our playlist and look at dab for the champ, that is, yes, very, very good. 1 point separates them. What is going to happen here is very close from that. Obviously, Sebastian Vettel, the not very liked in Silverstone 2017. Obviously, when I was in the fan zone as well, I thought it was Sebastian. That would have been quite good, having two guys, Lewis and Seb, you know, doing the, well, they were doing like hand gestures and that, but obviously friendly. There were kids about, don't worry, guys. It wasn't the international symbol of hatred, which obviously Sebastian Vettel is kind of a proprietor of. And yes, obviously, when he got the puncher, the whole stadium, if you like, erupted in a big cheer, and obviously he finished the race out of the podium positions, just in the points, just to keep it alive. But obviously, as John said, his lead dropped down. Lewis Hamilton, the Grand Slam, very, very good. So yes, he's heading into this race, as I said in the first part. He can match Michael Schumacher's record if he takes pole position, which it is looking like he will do. But obviously, I said he won't get the win. But what will happen? Will he finish ahead of Sebastian Vettel, and will he get that lead, which obviously he will want? And as I say, this time last year, he took the lead from Nico Rosberg, had a dab, and went in the second half of the season really, really refreshed. He had a bad Belgian Grand Prix, if you remember, in 2016, clawing back the position, but obviously a grid penalty destroyed that race. But I remember Hungary was amazing. He took the lead again, and deja vu, guys. That's the last thing I'm going to say about those two. Deja vu. It was exactly the same as last year. Lewis trailing the leader by 1 point going in Hungary. It is so intense in the last round before the first half of the season is over. But honestly, 1 point. I mean, Jordan, it's intense. And I'm going to say, who do you think will head in the summer break as the leader of the World Championship? I mean, it's with let me do some quick maths. So it's 18, 19, that's 7 points. Obviously, let's say if Seb comes in first place, Lewis Hamilton comes in second. That means Sebastian Vettel will have an 8-point lead. And obviously, if Lewis Hamilton wins and Seb comes second, that'll be a 6-point lead by Lewis. So the question is, $1 million question, the $50 million. I've forgotten how much Steve Austin is worth, either 20 or 10 or whatever. $50 million question. Who will lead? Who will be leading into the summer break? Will it be Hamilton in the Mercedes, or will it be Seb in the Ferrari, or will it be Pascal Wehrlein in the Sauber?
If somehow everybody decides to just leave Formula 1, just pack up the things and go, right, I've had enough of this, I'm going. Pascal Wehrlein will definitely be leading the World Championship, even though he'll be the only driver there. But anyways, no, I do think it'll be Lewis Hamilton. I really, really do, because Lewis Hamilton is always good at clawing back leads, as he always does. In fact, guys, you know what? If Lewis Hamilton ever retires, right, and from Formula 1 one day, you know, he's done his thing in media or, you know, punditry or whatever he does, you know, or getting really, really bad haircuts, or becomes a hairdresser, I don't know, just whatever. That's
fashion sense. He's been doing fashion shows. Jordan definitely knows that. I saw that. He definitely knows that. But yes, Lewis Hamilton, he'll probably go off and be the next, Gok Wan or something.
He could be, but I think he's got a better fashion sense than a 3-time Formula 1 World Champion. But anyways, yeah. So as I was saying, you know, if Lewis Hamilton ever sets up a dog walking business, don't give him it, because he might lose the lead.
Oh,
Anyways, moving swiftly on. I heard that in football once. It was actually quite funny. Anyways, so yeah, I think it'll be Lewis. I think it'll be Lewis Hamilton clawing back, going into the summer break in the lead of the World Championship. Me personally, I do want it to be Sebastian Vettel, even though I've said this before. Yes, we are British and we should be supporting our home driver. But I don't know. I think there's something about Sebastian Vettel I like compared to Lewis Hamilton. I think Lewis Hamilton is he's not the same guy he was when he first started out in Formula 1, and I love that guy. He was like what Seb is now, and obviously Seb, Seb's more, he keeps himself to himself. He pays in Formula 1, goes away. We don't hear a word until the next Grand Prix. With Lewis Hamilton, we know what he's up to 24/7. So I like that side of Sebastian Vettel, how he keeps himself himself to himself. So I want to see Vettel do well. I want to see Vettel win the championship this season. But obviously, I don't want to be biased and say, oh, look, Vettel is going to win every single race because that's not who we are. I do honestly believe Lewis Hamilton will go into the summer break. Obviously, I predict him to win the Grand Prix. So obviously, I'm thinking that he is going to lead the championship, and he might win the championship. It's going to be one or the other. But obviously, I think, as like I said, Lewis Hamilton or Sebastian Vettel, it is going to be one of them too. But there's also another guy thrown into the mix recently, which is Valtteri Bottas, the Lewis Hamilton's teammate. Now, when he came into Mercedes, everyone was like, oh, right, so here we go. Here comes another Nico Rosberg, Lewis Hamilton type of saga. But not really, because, Valtteri Bottas is a Finnish driver. Finnish drivers, as we all know, just keeps himself to himself, like all Finnish drivers does. Comes into the Grand Prix, comes in, gets the job done, wins a Grand Prix, and then goes off to Monaco or Sweden or wherever they live these days.
Sweden.
And obviously,
in the Finnish. The Sweden, they live in Sweden. What about, honestly, what are we doing here? Racing or talking about where drivers live in the world?
I don't know. Apparently Kim Reitman lives in Sweden or Switzerland, one of the two. I don't know. Anyways, I'm not stalking, by the way, guys. But yeah, so obviously, the thing is though, right? Valtteri Bottas is now 23 points behind the leader Sebastian Vettel. Now that is like literally a race win away, and he could have a 2-point lead should those two drivers retire and Bottas wins the Grand Prix. Now everyone's thinking, oh, he has a really good chance because he's third in the standings. Valtteri Bottas, he's having an absolutely tremendous season so far. In the last 4 races of this season, he's finished on the podium. He's finished P2 in Canada, P2 in Azerbaijan, P1, won the Grand Prix in Austria, and then same again, P2 in Great Britain. Now we've seen how tremendous his drive was in Great Britain after getting a grid penalty for changing, I think it was his engine or his gearbox, I think it was. So obviously he had a bit of a task there, give or take that. Yes, he got lucky because of the Ferraris having the punctures, but still P2 from P9 I think he started in. So that is actually pretty impressive from Valtteri Bottas, and he's showing that he can compete with Lewis Hamilton, who is arguably one of the best F1 drivers of all time. And I do honestly believe Valtteri Bottas can actually put his foot in the door and actually have a good challenge. But I don't think he's going to threaten anything from Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. I think it is going to be one of them two drivers for the World Championship. But I honestly do believe Bottas can actually have a proper challenge for it in the foreseeable future, should he renew his contract with the Mercedes. So now another couple of drivers that I'm going to go into about stat-wise. Is 2 drivers who are very underperforming this season. However, you can sort of see, there is light at the end of the tunnel, you could say. And those 2 drivers are Julian Palmer and Stoffel Van Dorn. Now, don't click off before you think, because oh my word, those two. No, I've heard too much about them. No, bear with me, because Julian Palmer, right, in the last 3 out of his 5 Grand Prix, he's finished at P11. The other one was a did not start and a DNF. So bear with me on that one. Stoffel Van Dorn, on the other hand, has been progressing since the Canadian Grand Prix. Now, he finished in P14 in Canada, P12 in Azerbaijan and in Austria, and in P11 in Great Britain. Now, everyone has been talking about how good Stoffel Van Dorn is all of a sudden, because he had a very, very tough start. Yes, the car is bad, but obviously we've seen how pretty much how good Alonso was. Given the car the best it possibly could, because you need a world-class driver to make that car move essentially. So obviously having Stoffel Van Dorn, young driver, he is under a bit of pressure again in a team like McLaren. Despite where they are still a very big team in Formula 1. So, but obviously recently, well, at the start of the season, he got criticised a lot, but recently his results are improving. Now it's only a matter of time before he will get a points finish. Same with Julian Palmer. 3 times in the past 5 races, he's finished in P11. Not very far off the points, and he has been in the points, but then sort of took a step back because of either someone's overcut him or undercut him, or even he's got the strategy wrong. So Julian Palmer and those 2 drivers are sniffing the points score and finish. So Lyle, here's one for you. 1, can Valtteri Bottas actually put a put his foot in the door for a challenge, for a fight for this World Championship in Hungary, and obviously we're talking about Hungarian Grand Prix, have a good chance of actually, putting pressure on the two drivers of Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. And the other one is, can eventually Jolyon Palmer or Stoffel Van Dorn, or maybe even both of them, score points this weekend, because of obviously judging by their form and how close they have been to getting points. What do you think?
So obviously let's crack on with the first thing that you said, which is Valtteri Bottas. Now, when he first came into Formula 1, people wanted Nico, as John said, but then it was, I don't know, people were in two camps. What was going to happen? Was it going to be a Nico, or was he just going to be a not Nico? Was he not going to be challenging? But long story short, he's had race wins. He's had pole positions. He really is sticking his foot in the door. He's getting close to it. And I think the thing is that's quite cool about Valtteri. He's doing it. I think he's doing it, and like people aren't really even noticing it. You know what I mean? It's like Mercedes are all focused on Hamilton, and they're focused on they're focused on Bottas doing well. And then if he actually creeps up on this, it'll be amazing. And I think that what you could do is, right, this is my prediction for Bottas, okay? Because obviously, I know we did our season preview, a few episodes ago. Obviously, the second episode, F1 Debate one we came out, obviously we predicted who was going to win the World Championship and that. And obviously, I don't know if I did put him in third, but anyway, I'm saying Bottas will come in third position, or I think he will, because what'll happen is obviously Seb and Lewis will obviously, of course, run away with the World Championship. But I think Bottas will fly under the radar, and he'll get very close to the point of where people will say things like, right, okay, guys, I don't think you've really noticed that Hamilton and Vettel are like, let's say within touching distance of each other when it comes to Brazil going into Abu Dhabi. But then you're like, Bottas is like, a few points behind Vettel, and then it's like nobody's really noticed that until it gets to the finish. And I think he could finish. There we go. He gets to the finish and he gets to the Valtteri Bottas. But I think he can get very close to that. So then the second part that you mentioned, obviously, Jolyon Palmer and Stoffel Van Dorn, who will get the first points before one another. Now, obviously, Stoffel Van Dorn, Belgian driver, but obviously drives for a British team. Jolyon Palmer, British, drives for a French team based in the UK. Obviously, it's very, very tight. Both want both drivers to do really well. It was really unfortunate about Jolyon Palmer, obviously, in Silverstone, his home race, obviously one of only two British drivers in the British Grand Prix. He didn't get as many cheers, which I thought was a bit strange this year. Yeah. Obviously, I remember because I went on the Saturday as well. But obviously, people will have still wanted him to do very, very well. I believe that Stoffel will score points before Jolyon Palmer will. But it's going to be close, because I remember last year Jolyon Palmer scored points in Belgium and in Italy as well. They were strong races by him, and he kicked off the second part of the season, as I say, very strong with 2 points finishes. And then he continued to make real gains in the Singapore Grand Prix, Mexico. I remember he was kind of destroying the second part of the season. Obviously, he's got that advantage, obviously, over Stoffel Van Dorn, who hasn't done. Obviously the kind of the bigger races that he hasn't done, obviously, when GP2 or Formula 2 as it's called now hadn't done, so obviously he hasn't done them in Formula 1, but definitely making gains in that McLaren, creeping up closer and closer and closer to the point scoring positions, and I think that he could get it. And I'll tell you the track that I think they will get it at, right? Italy, Monza. I think that they will do it at that race. McLaren have, I don't know, they've seemed to always have a bit of an extra spark at Monza. They've always seemed to have more of a push, more of a determination to go. It hasn't always gone their way. They've had retirements before. Obviously, Jenson Button in 2012 had a retirement with the car as well when it was acting up. They've had other retirements, but they've had wins there before, for like Lewis Hamilton, as I say, in 2012 as well, doing well in that. He's won like that again with McLaren in Monza, but I believe that McLaren will be strong in Monza, and I'm thinking that even both drivers might do it as well. And obviously, as I say, Fernando Alonso in Monza in front of his old Tifosi, obviously, who will adore him still for being an ex-Ferrari driver. And I do wish, obviously, Jolyon the best of luck in Formula 1, obviously pushing on, but I do believe that it will be Stoffel that will get points before Jolyon Palmer. But it's interesting to see where they is, because they are both two drivers who are, it's unsure where they're going to be next year. Is Stoffel going to take a second season in Formula 1? Obviously, a second season with McLaren. Is Jolyon going to continue with Renault, or where is he going to go? It's all open, but it's progressive what they've made. But as I say, they'll have to make some big stands in the second part of the season. So the next team that I'm going to be discussing, the two drivers, is Toro Rosso. Now, obviously, very, very big team to talk about. Now, it's Daniel Kvyat, okay, he is a driver who has had luck thrown at him. He's had all types of luck. He's had good luck, he's had bad luck, he's had, horribleness, if that's a word, I wouldn't want to be Daniel Kvyat right now. He must have a head just full of, that song, My Head is a Jungle? I think that's about Daniel Kvyat, because his head is just full. It is a good song. His head is just full of a jungle right now. There we go. John is just, we can't play. Well, we're playing it in the studio, but obviously we can't play it on the, because of copyright.
Copyright, yes.
Very good
we
song.
We don't do that.
Beast. Copyright. No, we don't. Copyright. That's our basin to it. My head is a copyright. Right. Anyway. So obviously Daniel Kvyat. It's a shame where he is at the moment. Obviously, as I say, through the training places, we all know what happened there. Came in like a torpedo. The amazing Yuka lap that was said by Sebastian Vettel last year at the Chinese Grand Prix. Crashed into again at Russia, which kind of kicked off the training places. He was almost not signed last season, obviously nearly given the seat to, Pierre Gasly was in the seat, and I think he was about 90% to get it, but then Toro Rosso had to sign Daniel Kvyat again because of what happened in Toro Rosso, with Red Bull, and they had to give him another chance. Given the guy another chance, will he get back to Red Bull or will he not? Well, he's had a few little misdemeanors this year, but obviously kicking off what happened in Silverstone. What happened? How did he crash? But he crashed into the one guy who you just don't crash into, guys. And obviously, as we know, Lewis knows that. Lewis knows that. Obviously, crashed into his teammate both at McLaren and Mercedes. And that is, obviously, he crashed into Carlos Sainz, his teammate at Toro Rosso. Horrible from them. They both had a DNF. Oh my god, it was one of those moments where it was like, because obviously when we had the crash in Spain, and there was like the two drivers at the front, but then Toro Rosso were like a team at the back or like midfield, and then they crashed, and then it's like who cares? But then it's like, this is massive because it's like inter-team squabbling, but they're not at the stage that like Nico and Lewis are, where they're both kind of safe and they're not going to get, they're not risking anything going wrong with any of their careers or anything like that. But Daniel Kvyat, obviously nicknamed the Torpedo, that nickname came back into play this after Silverstone, and he heads into Hungary with all of this bad negativity from Silverstone on his back. What is happening to Toro Rosso? Obviously scoring no points as well. The 4 points ahead of Haas in the Constructors' Championships as well, and obviously trailing Williams by 8 points. So it's, they're still in the mix. Obviously, as I say, 6th position is not too bad. Obviously, they're ahead of some big teams like that in front of Haas, Renault, and obviously McLaren. Well, big teams are not McLaren anymore. Yeah. But yes, obviously those drives, and obviously we discussed Carlos Sainz again in the F1 debate show, the last F1 debate show. So we're going to start with Daniel Kvyat first, Jordan. Yeah. Now, how do you think he's taken that kind of what happened at Silverstone? Because it was a very strange crash. As I say, it was a midfield crash, but it was a massive crash where it was like, this guy who's been given all these chances, like, what is he doing anymore? And, is this going to affect him in later date when, Toro Rosso will start making decisions, as in who will move up to Red Bull and who will stay at Toro Rosso? Do you think this will play into a big part? Do you think it'll just be like one of those things where it's like, no, racing incident, it's just now nothing to think about. A bit like the FIA, a bit like the brake test, kind of decided that there was nothing, it wouldn't come back to bite Sebastian again. It would just be swept under the rug. Do you think this, what Daniel did in Silverstone, do you think it's one of those things where it'll be swept under the rug, or do you think it'll affect him in further decisions that Toro Rosso will make about his future, and indeed Carlos's as well?
Well, I think the demons of 2016 will come back to haunt Daniel Kvyat, because right now he's just like under the media spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Torpedo, Daniel Kvyat strikes again. Now, it's not a reputation you want in Formula 1, is it? To be known as the Torpedo. Now, we all know last season that you had the picture of him on top of the Torpedo on the back of his helmet once upon a time to try and go, you funny old people and all that. But obviously now this is like, Daniel, this, you actually might be literally the Torpedo of Formula 1. And that isn't a good thing to be bragging about. But obviously the number one rule within a team, doesn't matter what team you're at, whether it's Mercedes or Sauber, is do not hit your teammate. That's as soon as you've walked through that door on day one. So, you sign for your brand new team. Like, hello, Mr. Kvyat, very nice to meet you. Right. It's almost like the first rule of Fight Club is don't talk about Fight Club. The first rule of Toro Rosso is don't hit your teammate. It's like it's like as soon as you walk into Toro Rosso HQ, that's one big banner. Number one, rule one: do not hit your teammate. That's how big it is. And obviously for Daniel Kvyat.
Oh no! What about rule one at Toro Rosso? Rule number one is, don't remind Daniel Kvyat that he used to be at Red Bull. Can I just imagine at the Toro Rosso garage, that's a topic that nobody wants to talk about. Oh, Daniel, do you remember when you were at Red Bull in 2016? What?
What team?
There's nothing. No one mentions that.
Who's Red Bull? No, the word Red Bull's the word Red Bull is banned from the side of Daniel Kvyat's garage, anyways. But
oh yes.
I I think he's only going through yet again another blip. I think he is a good driver. He did get off to quite a good start this season. I mean, I think we were rating how good Toro Rosso actually did get off to a really good start, but obviously things have deteriorated in many ways. Now you've got this situation where both drivers are now unsettled because now they can't trust one another, and that's what you really don't want that. You don't want that in a team. Because you've got Carlos Sainz who's like, I don't want to be here. I want to be in the likes of Ferrari. So he's frustrated, even though he's getting the really good results, and his future in Formula 1 is very uncertain. Yet you've got Danny Kivat, who is he's crashing to everyone left, right, and centre, having more DNFs than Pastor Maldonado. That's saying something. And he's apparently getting offered a new 1-year contract. So that's not really fair, is it, on Carlos Sainz, anyways? But I think they would have had a bit of a meeting with Danny Kivat and Carlos Sainz, just saying, right, okay, shake hands now. We're saying nothing of it. We move on. Hungary, brand new, new circuit, new race, everything like that. New race weekend. We go into the summer break. We come out of it in Belgium, and we just leave it. We just race. Just don't hit anybody. If you come to one another, literally just back off quickly. I don't care where you are. You could be 1-2. Just back off instantly because we want both cars to finish. That's pretty much the aim for Formula 1 team, to obviously have both cars to finish the Grand Prix, whether that's in the points or out the points, because that's just an achievement in itself. Now, another set of drivers, again, some more stats coming your way, guys. So loads of stat attacks coming today. Now this is like sort of positive stats and negative stats. So obviously I'm going to go with the positive stat first. Now this is Esteban Ocon's stat. Now, very, very impressive stat when I researched this, because as we all know, Esteban Ocon is the next up and coming prodigy in Formula 1. Lyle's obviously my co-host, very, very big fan of his work. Obviously with him come through the ranks and everything. Potential F1 world champion, definitely think so as well. I like the look of him as well. Now there's only 3 drivers on the grid this season that haven't had a DNF, and that's obviously Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton. Now obviously Esteban Ocon is that other driver. I think the only time he hasn't finished in the points was when he finished, I think it was P13 in Monaco or P14 in Monaco. I think that was the only, obviously he finished the Grand Prix there. Any other time he's finished in the points. Very, very impressive from Esteban Ocon. No DNFs, no DNSs. So obviously, again, showing other teams how reliable he can be. I think Sergio Perez has 1 DNF. I think that was in Baku, I believe it. Obviously, let's not remind them of what happened with that. But obviously, that just proves how reliable. Again, not only Esteban Ocon, but how that team is Force India as well. So obviously, I think they have had a very good reliability record the past 2 seasons. So obviously, very, very impressive by then. But the other stat is obviously nothing to do with Force India, is Max Verstappen and Fernando Alonso. Now, one of the drivers you'll be, yeah, I can get the stat, I understand it, but the other one's like, nah, that can't be right, surely. Now, this season, right, I was looking through about, for this previous show, I want to see who has the most retirement. And I'm thinking, is it Pascal Wehrlein? Is it Marcus Ericsson? Is it Stoffel Van Dorn? No, it's Max Verstappen, of all people, with 5 retirements this season. That's bad. That's in the Red Bull. That's a team that's won 4 World Championships and 4 Drivers' Championships. And this is the driver who's already won a race and is dubbed the next big thing in Formula 1. 5 retirements, and the other one, the next worst off, let's say, is Fernando Alonso with 4 retirements, which you can sort of understand. But I mean, now obviously, like Esteban Ocon, Hungarian Grand Prix, do you think he'll finish the Grand Prix and then sort of boost his chances for a bigger drive in the future? And also with Max Verstappen and Alonso, do you think that they are under a bit of pressure to try and perform? Not so much Alonso, because Alonso's like, we all know what Alonso can do, but Verstappen mostly, because we've seen drivers, we've already kind of discussed this in previous episodes, but drivers have literally been sacked from teams because the car hasn't been, up to their standard. We've seen it with K-Mag, and we've seen it most recently with Sergio Perez in McLaren, and obviously K-Mag as well recently in McLaren. So,
yeah, McLaren.
Exactly.
Always a McLaren.
Exactly, weird that, isn't it? So, obviously, what do you think about those stats? Obviously, mostly towards Max Verstappen, but Esteban Ocon as well.
Yeah, so Esteban Ocon, okay, do you want to hear this, guys? As Jordan said, obviously, he's never retired from this season, but he never retired last season as well. He did the last 9 races at Man, obviously replacing Rio Haryanto, so he did Belgium to Abu Dhabi, with 9 races, completed those all. He didn't score any points, but he completed all 9, no DNFs. He's done 10 rounds so far of this season, so I think that means 19 overall. Finished all 19 out of 19. That's wow. Honestly, that's crazy. Like,
How about that?
honestly, where's that coming from? But obviously, so you obviously good, very, very good from that. And obviously, as John said, obviously, you can get if the car isn't performing in that. I mean, I remember Checo's was massive because I think he could have. He really could have. If he stayed at McLaren for one more season, sorry, Kevin, if you weren't in 2014, if Sergio just stayed for one more season, I think he could have performed. I think he could have achieved a bit more. And obviously, as we know, 2014 was what 2013's car should have been like, if that makes sense. But Esteban Ocon, honestly, he's doing such a great job, getting that car home, coursing that car home. Yes, he's getting good reliability, but Sergio Perez, I mean, he's not finished every single race. He hasn't got like a perfect streak as Esteban Ocon has. But, so it shows that Esteban is a good, clean driver. And I think that's one of the things that you can take away from this clean driver. There's no problems, nothing whatsoever. He's aggressive, but he knows when to take the car home. And when a race engineer says, bring the car home, he knows what that means. And that is that you bring the car home with no problems, and he's not going to do a Danny Kvyat or whatever and, crash the car or whatever. But obviously, on the flip side, it's not like Max Verstappen is not a clean driver. It's not like Max Verstappen is not a dirty driver. Max Verstappen is an aggressive driver, and he's not doing anything to the car. Obviously, that's just bad reliability. We know how terrible that was. Obviously, made worse that Daniel Ricciardo was obviously scoring podium at the same time Max was retiring from the race, which obviously wasn't very good from him. I mean, obviously, Max is not in a position where he'll get sacked from the team for sure. Definitely not. But yeah, I know what you mean. It's like if you get retirements and things like that, that can go bad in your favour. Obviously, Stoffel Van Dorn is more reliable than Fernando Alonso in that McLaren. Obviously, as John said, 4 retirements for Fernando Alonso in a car that is a bit of a joke this season. Honestly, it's like I don't think people care if it's a McLaren Honda or if it's a one of that little Reliant Robin that's in Mr. Bean. I don't think people really care. It's as long as if it has Fernando Alonso in it, it's like, oh my god, he's finished the race. Wow, wow, no points again. But so what? Anyway, so obviously, it's great from Esteban to bring that car home like he is, and I think that is very good for his stats. So basically, at the end of this season, John, I think when people like VJ Malley get together and talk about Esteban Ocon in Force India, they're going to look and they're going to think, wow, he's had an amazing streak. I mean, look at the first part of the season, every race finished, and hopefully the second part of the season, every race finished just like, as I said, the second part of last season. Or his...
I was just thinking that I think we've probably put the kiss to death on it now. I think he's going to now retire in 5 out of the next 10 races.
Well, he better not, because I'm not going to be very happy if he does. I mean, he's doing well at this point. Actually, I don't know, because I mean, we've probably said that many times about Esteban Ocon's clean record, but that is really strong from him, and obviously he will be one of a monopoly as well, because as I say, not many drivers will have ever done that. No one that I can think of has basically gone through the season without any incidents. As I say, scoring points at all but one race as well, which is fantastic. He's looking like he's going to be one of the most consistent drivers this season, and I think he can be. I think when we finish the season in Abu Dhabi, obviously this, in a good few races time, a big gap of people thinking that the season's flying around. But when we finish the season, I think that we could look at Esteban and go, oh my god, you've actually been such a consistent driver this year. It's actually amazing. You know what I mean? I think he's got that talent, he's got the car, he's got the ambition, and it really is amazing. Anyway, guys, so that's obviously where we're going to end the Hungarian Grand Prix GP preview show. The last round of the first part of the season obviously catches on the flip side in Belgium in 3 weeks' time for the preview show. Obviously, thank you very much for watching today, and also the last 11 rounds as well. We hope you've enjoyed Fry the Grid as well. As I say again, that's the end of the first part of the first part of the season. I'm leading. Yes, I love that moment. I love that. And anyway, so until next, we've been the F1 Debate Show, and until next time, guys, see you later.
See you later, guys.